Broadcasting live on the UnitedWest.org AM radio network and simulcasting on DirecTV, iHeartRadio, Roku, and the World Wide Web, this is Enemies of the State with Tom Trento.
All right, another great song by ABCB, the famous...
That's ABCD, Tom.
ABCD, the famous metal, rocking roll, punk, jazz group of the 1940s. Reggae group playing another song called Thunder in the Skies. So stay tuned as we play their whole album a little later.
Actually, I would like to do that.
In the show.
That sounds like a good idea.
Play their whole album.
There's one of the shows when we're in Israel.
Yeah, why, if you're listening to my voice right now, or you're watching at the UnitedWest.org, why in the world, don't you have anything better to do than to listen to this show or to watch this show?
You are such a fundraiser and such a, you are just so great, though.
You only have so many hours in your pathetic life, and you're listening to
Okay,
me?
let's start this show over. Start this one over.
Take two.
No, I often think, I go, why? And we reach thousands and thousands and thousands of people, millions of people over the course of time. But on a daily basis, thousands and thousands of people. And I go, why are they listening to this?
Because they got nothing else to do. They're bored in their car.
Yeah,
they're trapped. They're trapped in a little cocoon car.
That's a possibility, but usually bored people don't listen to stuff that hurts their head,
There are masochists in this world.
Masochists, I guess. So if you ask yourself the question, why the heck am I listening to these guys? You'll discover stuff about yourself so important, so critical, that you are distinguished above and beyond most people in the United States of America. You are a member of a very elite group listening to us because you are now in the know. We got information nobody else has. We kind of get it out in ways in which we're allowed to do that. Mossad, ways to do that, but and because of that, you are a member of a unique fraternity or sorority, because women are accepted in our team here, of information that motivates to action. So make sure, as you listen or watch, you complete the whole process. You figure out what we're talking about, and we'll help you do that. Then that desire, that movement in your body where you go, I got to do something about this. That's called motivation. And then when you take what's in your head and put it in your feet and your shoes begin to move, that's action. That's what we're looking for, action. It is time in the United States of America, worldwide. We're probably, if you're listening to this right now, we're in Israel, on the front lines, dealing with these issues. You could be the same thing right where you are, whether it's in Des Moines, Iowa, or Dabiq, Syria, which is the topic for today. But you got to get active. You got to get involved. There are, as of today, 600 days left. This is the 19th of March right now, 18th of March. 600 days left until the election of 2016. Tuesday, November 8th, second Tuesday in the month of November. And yesterday, President Obama got a devastating, destructive defeat.
Butt whooping. Yeah. Good old-fashioned butt whooping. Woo-hoo.
He got a butt whooping by Bibi Netanyahu and the good people in Israel. Absolutely. He tried. He put $350,000 of your taxpayer dollars into a bunch of shell organizations. Right. But you know what? When you hire your top guy to run the operation, it's kind of a little bit revealing.
Right.
And I'm sure they said, let's hide and open. Let's put our top field operator, Jeremy Bird. They'll never figure that we're behind this.
They don't care. They're brazen. They're like Hillary with the emails. They don't care.
They don't care. They put Jeremy Bird, leftist loser, in charge of the ground operation. I'll tell you what, we were very concerned here at the United West that the left and the Arab parties would prevail, and that essentially there'd be a 1 or 2 year setback in the national security construction of the West that is centered in Israel. That's critically important. We do national security work here at Enemies of the State. By the way, there's a nitwit U.S. Air Force guy who retired from the Air Force in 91 or so, became converted to the religion of peace. What religion, Imam Abdullah, would that be?
Islam.
Yes, this Air Force high-tech specialist converted to Islam in 1998, and then was discovered recently of writing down that he wanted to be, you ready for this? An enemy of the
state.
An enemy of the state.
He wants to come work for your show?
Yeah.
He wrote down in his journals that his desire is to be a mujahideen, to either be victorious, thus defeating the Jews and Christians, or to be victorious, thus becoming a martyr and be in paradise. But ultimately, he wanted to be an enemy of the state.
Yeah.
These guys are just writing our show, I swear to God.
We need a show maybe called Enemy of the State.
I tell you, we got Fox ripping off our name. We got jihadis trying to steal our name. What are we having that much impact throughout the world, Tom?
It's unbelievable, unbelievable. And
and another thing, the reason you should be listening to and are listening to this show is because you're hearing things way before they happen. I mean, it's like Tom's got a big little crystal ball right out there and telling you everything that's going on. And like, for example,
my crystal head,
just today,
my rubber head.
You take people like Glenn Beck or Hannity or whoever, they're catching up to us.
On what?
Yeah, for example, Grover Norquist issue. We've been hammering Grover Norquist for how many years, Tom?
Several
years, telling you how bad a guy. We did series on him, we did exposés on him, we did everything on him. It's just and this was years ago. Finally, the Glenn Becks and everybody else are starting to pick up on it. And they're starting to, oh, well, you know what? This guy's a really bad guy. He is an agent of influence. Oh, I guess I better report on this because this is he's on the board of the NRA. Do you know that? Oh, he's on the board of CPAC. You know that? Oh, he's way deep inside Republican politics. Wow, that's really a shocker.
And here's how all this fits together, folks. The individual we just spoke about, the African-American gentleman who worked in the Air Force, then went and worked for airlines and learned all this technical information about air flight, converted to Islam. The news people are, look.
I'm really surprised it's Islam, Tom, you know, that he wouldn't become a jihadi.
There he is right there. U.S. Air Force veteran charged of trying to join the Islamic State. What's his name? What's his real name? And then what's his Muslim crazy name?
His real name is... Let's see here.
Tarod
Nathan Webster Pugh.
So Tarod?
T-A-I-R-O-D. Tyrod, maybe?
Tyrod.
I don't know no Tyrods.
Tyrod Pugh. And
There's a Tyrod in my car. I got 2 Tyrods in my car.
And what's the name of his Muslim nom du jour there?
That's it. Let me guess, either Ahmed or Muhammad.
Or Muhammad, yeah. Or maybe he kept the tie rod and made it Tyreek rod. All right, well, we're going to find that out. But here's how all of this connects together. This guy asked to become an enemy of the state, but what he's doing is he's reading Islamic doctrine, and the news reporter said he was radicalized.
Self-radicalized in all likelihood.
Yeah, the Air Force radicalizes people to go to jihad. I know they do.
I mean, the Islamic State theologians, philosophers, and doctrinaire educators got to be laughing their heads off when they hear ABC, CNN, even Fox.
The little guy on your desk.
Even him, yeah. When they hear the news say this guy got more deeply into Islam and became radicalized. If I'm an Islamic State jihadi, I'm going, yeah, okay. Isn't that the way it works? If you really believe this stuff, you'll live in such a way that you'll view it as radical when we know it's orthodox, it's the right thing to do. This is what it's supposed to be. And then at the end of this report about Tyrod Pugh, at the end of the report today that I heard, the news commentator says, and FBI officials, I couldn't believe this, are plagued as to why a guy would want to join the Islamic State after seeing videos of the Islamic State people killing other people.
And reading Dabiq magazine.
They couldn't figure out how somebody can look. He had videos of the Islamic State warriors beheading people on his hard drive. God. Couldn't figure out.
You do too.
Yeah, I know. Couldn't figure out how a person could look at that.
I do too.
And then make the connection.
Damon, I know you do too.
To want to become one of these guys.
Part of the job.
We are doing what the law enforcement facilities ought to be doing in the United States of America. And there are very good people at all the various national security sectors helping out. Where this thing falls apart is in the leadership, FBI leadership, and law enforcement leadership out of the Department of Justice. With Holder in there, this thing has been a disaster.
Yep.
Holder and President Obama are simply racist. They're angry black men, angry from being raised, and they live charmed lives, first of all. Nobody beat them up, nobody enslaved them, nothing like that. But they're angry because you're supposed to be an angry black guy in the 70s and 80s, whatever. Mm-hmm. They're angry, and they happen to negotiate themselves into positions of leadership, and that anger has completely obliterated a proper national security consciousness in the fabric of law enforcement in the United States of America. I originally was going to go into the law enforcement sector a long time ago, did a degree in studying that, was headed to the FBI, was talking with the FBI, I was going to do all that, and my life changed around. That's when the FBI were G-men. That's when they said, there's a bad guy, we got to stop him. Now it's, there's a bad guy, where's the 12 FBI lawyers that'll tell us whether we can stop him and whether we have to take our shoes off to even speak to him. That's how badly things have changed.
Hey, speaking of taking shoes off, do you remember when they raided a mosque down here? I think it was in Margate or Miami. And the FBI agents all took their shoes off to go in and arrest the guy. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
You got to be turned. I tell you what. Can you just picture John Guandola as an FBI agent going in there and going, "Okay, John, you got to take your shoes off for going to mosque." You go.
Now, I know I know Gary's not FBI, he was CIA, but that guy's not taking his shoes off.
Picture John Guandola, Gary Burnson going in the office, even with Claire Lopez, all three of them going in. And
you have the little Muslim imam going, "Gentlemen, before you come in, you must remove your shoes.
Get
and your
out
feet.
of my face, dirtbag."
Before you arrest half of my congregation, please take your shoes off.
Apart from the absurdity of that, let's look at the security issues. You have no shoes on. They're going to hit your toes with a hammer. How about that?
Well, how about the guys in Dabiq? The guys in Dabiq, they're on the crazy military truck with AKs and all sorts of stuff, and one guy's barefoot and the other guy's wearing sandals.
Oh, God.
Unbelievable. That's a crazy world we live in.
You did forget one thing before you move on, Tom.
What's that?
You need to send out a special thank you today to one of your... And his feelings are going to be hurt if you don't send out a special thank you to him for his participation and involvement in the Israel election, helping get Bibi Netanyahu reelected.
Who's that?
Well, he's sitting right next to you on your book. Right there. Right
El Presidente. ¿Cómo se llama el Presidente? You got your butt kicked, sir. How about that? But thank you very much, because what you did, well, those ears... I don't know if you can see those ears.
That's a zoom.
That guy just wants to flap those things and fly away today.
From back here, I can't see the monitor. I can't see anything with these wings on there. But you're cool. You got that coolness about you.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for all your involvement in BBNet.
I'm sure you were advised to send in the ground troops, because that's the way it's done, and you've been very successful. You were successful in 2008, 2012. Little different when you're dealing with the land where God lives, okay? A little different. As much as people may reject God and all of that, he still lives in Israel. That's kind of where he hangs out quite a bit. He's all over the world. He's omnipresent, of course. But he hangs out in Israel. So you took on a very large task, and you know what? You had me convinced. I thought Bibi, your buddy Bibi, was going to lose. I thought that was going to happen. And I'm going, all right, so we got to deal with it. But somehow he won big. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? sorry.
No, you don't.
Hey, who predicted when everything was looking bad for Bibi, who predicted the Bibi win?
You did.
Damn straight.
Yep.
Well, I did say I thought the the news media was overblowing the polls.
I was a naysayer. I said, if I got to go somewhere, he's going to lose. We're going to be set back 2 years, and a lot of dead people, a lot of blood in the street. There's still going to be a lot of dead people, a lot of blood in the street, because Bibi, on the 17th, St. Patrick's Day, Bibi said 3 or 4 no's and a couple of yeses at the last minute. And, you know, a lot of people, Jewish people are human beings. You know, we kind of think of the Jewish state as something very unique because they were in a diaspora for 2,000 years. No one ever on the face of the earth has been dispersed a nationality for 2,000 years and then been reconstituted as the same people. That's never happened. That's a miracle of God. They're there. Then they take dirt and make it into a first world country, and they fight wars with 20 nations against them, and they win. So we think of Jews as somehow superhuman. They're not. They're regular people. And they have the hand of God in many respects on them. And they wait until the last minute, many of them, to make up their mind, like regular people. Well, Bibi came out at the last minute and says no to a Palestinian state. This is gigantor. I mean, this is going to cause Muslims to riot worldwide in the very near future. He said no to Iran getting a nuclear bomb. This is going to cause Muslims to riot in the world in the very near future.
This could possibly create Shia Sunnis together.
He said no to divided Jerusalem. He said, we're not dividing Jerusalem. No, that's not happening. We're keeping it united. This is going to cause Muslims to riot somewhere in the world in the near future. He said no to the request, particularly by Obama, to stop building settlements. We'll show you Ariel in about a week. This is going to cause Muslims to riot worldwide in the very near future. What's the moral of the story?
Muslims will riot over anything.
Muslims riot. That's what they do. That's what they do.
And they actually just would have attacked instead of rioted if Bibi lost.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and part of the frustration by many of the Likud right-wing people was with Operation Protective Edge, where, and we were in that chorus. We were saying, smash Hamas, destroy Hamas, demilitarize Hamas. You can keep them in politically, take their swords away from them, de-sword them.
Right.
And Netanyahu had a balance keeping some sort of authority in there. Otherwise, you got the Wild Wild West, and they do need weapons to some extent because the other guys will get them. But people were pissed at him for not destroying more sufficiently. But I think the Hamas was destroyed quite well. Yet recently, I hear, Imam Abdullah, your boys over there are bragging
yes.
about
The
what?
training camps are back up along very close to the border with Israel. Yes.
The
Congratulations to Hamas.
Okay. Well, we will be there in just a few days. We will send back some snippet reports on what's going on the Gaza border. So we will be there. By the time you're listening to this, we've probably been there and gone, but that's okay. Time for Dabiq. Calendars don't matter.
That's right.
Time for Dabiq.
Dabiq. Yes.
The best way to start the fourth part of our series, and each presentation on the magazine Dabiq, the People magazine for the Islamic State. That's what I like to call it. It's designed just like a People magazine with shadow boxes, cutouts, huge point font, very graphically oriented pictures. It's a People magazine for the Islamic State, whereas People tries to entertain. The Islamic State magazine, Dabiq, tries to kill everybody in the world. Other than that, they're very much the same.
That's well produced.
Yeah. If we go to a Wikipedia, that's very simple kind of juvenile definition dictionary, and look at Dabiq Syria, you'll get the historic context and geographic context for this magazine. So why don't we go there and somebody read all of that while I get a drink of water?
Yes, Dabiq.
Oh, you got it?
I got it.
Okay.
Dabiq
Hold on a
is...
second. Bring the brightness up a little bit. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Dabiq is a town in northern Syria, administratively part of the Azaz district of Aleppo governorate. Located northeast of Aleppo. Nearby localities include Mareh to the southwest, according to the Syria Central Bureau of Statistics. Dabiq had a population of 3,364 people in the 2004 census. That's it, 3,364 in the 04 census. So it's The town is the site of the decisive Battle of Marj Dabiq between the Ottoman Empire and the Mamluk Sultanate in 1516. In Islamic eschatology, it is believed that Dabiq is one of two possible locations for an epic battle between invading Christians and the defending Muslims, which will result in a Muslim victory and mark the beginning of the end of the world.
There you go. There you go.
Well, they actually got it kind of right, yeah.
Now, if the administration, if the Obama administration understood the importance of Munzu's edicts to figure this crap out and tell the truth, that was Munzu who did that. If the
this guy here, yes.
Munzu, there's Munzu. Oh, that's his cousin.
That's his cousin.
Sun Tzu.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Munzu is the fart of war. The fart of war. His cousin Sun Tzu has done the art of war, and this is serious stuff.
It is so bad. It is funny.
Yes, it is. But if the administration understood anybody's theory of military doctrine, you have to tell the people. You have to bring the people you're trying to get, whom you're trying to get support from, the Americans. You have to give them a sufficient understanding of what's going on. When you put into the historic context why the Islamic State is chopping heads off of Christians and Jews and Muslims, and you put this in what they perceive to be these end-time battles, whether or not we believe it. When we fought the Japanese and looked at their doctrine of Taoism, their doctrine of suicide and kamikaze, when we understood that, we knew that when those planes were coming toward the ships in the Pacific Ocean, those guys were going to fly things right into them, and there was an unlimited number of Japanese drinking their little drinks before they left, willing to do that. So how do you fight people like that? Well, Truman
give them jobs.
Yeah, give them jobs.
Give them jobs. Just like we did with the Nazis. We gave them jobs.
Truman figured out when you have an ideology that seeks death as a reward, as opposed to a Western world of preserving life, then you're not going to beat these guys knocking them off one at a time. You got to wipe them out and scare the hell out of them. Thus, Nagasaki and Hiroshima that occurred.
But exactly what you just said is very common saying in the Palestinian areas and other parts, but particularly the Palestinians, is we love death more than you love life.
Yeah,
and they're serious about that.
They're very, very serious. They're serious on sort of an institutional and an immediate modality. That means when you're hanging out with your buddies, and you'll see this, Damon, at 28 minutes after the hour right now on this beautiful day in South Florida. You'll see this.
Beautiful day in Israel.
When we drive through East Jerusalem, you will see it looks like a bunch of thugs in a hood. These Muslim guys, they're all in athletic suits, in athletic pants, like the old mafioso
like
guys.
Castro. They look like Fidel
They
Castro.
look like Castro. They got backpacks, all of them. Very tight. Everybody has a beard of some sort, usually tightly trimmed, and their hair is very short. Occasionally you find the guy with the long hair. But the new hip Muslim thing is a gangster, thuggish, Palestinian, Jew-hating person. You'll see them and you go, this looks like a gang in South Central LA. Well, they're gangs.
Looks like Al Auta hanging out at a rally in Fort Lauderdale.
And in that milieu, there's tremendous bravado, like any gang mentality. And it's, we love death more than life. Take one guy away and put him in front of, IDF soldiers, and they start wetting their pants, something like that. But as we know through historical practice, institutional bravado is only overcome by devastating destructive forces. Because there's a tipping point at which Muslims say, oh my God, a bunch of people are dying. Allah is obviously not blessing us. When you got one or two jihadis that blow themselves up and they have street banners and billboard signs and celebrations, that's victory for these guys. When there's complete devastation, then they go, Allah's not with us. time for a little bit of recess for
Strong
8 or
horse,
10
weak
years.
horse.
Yeah. So that's the way these guys have to be fought, and it's going to be very, very brutal. And Dr. Matthew Kranig, that we had on our show during our 3-part series, he explained that if Iran gets a bomb, it's going to be almost incomprehensible, the devastation it's going to be caused. But he said stopping them is going to be very, very bad, but not as bad as if they get it. We got to stop them and live with the secondary.
Pay a little now instead of a lot later.
Yeah, yeah. And if we had to put a figure on it, 1,000 people died today, 10,000 died. It's probably a 10 to 1 figure.
It's way bigger than that.
It's a 10 to 1 figure. It's if one person dies today, tomorrow 10 are going to die, and just extrapolate from there. It's going to be in the hundreds of thousands probably. Very, very bad situation we're in. We can make believe. Now, I asked at the beginning of this, why are you watching this crazy stuff? Because you understand the seriousness of it, and can we defeat it and overcome it? Yes. There's still time left to suppress Islamic activity that's destructive here in the United States, and even do so in other parts of the world. It has to be done in a very smart way, and that's what we're trying to tell you. One smart thing to do is to read this nonsense that they publish, that they believe, that they're living for. Let's get to it. Lesson number 4 in Dabiq. If you go to the cover, the return of the caliphate. Now, each of these are designed that they stand independently on their own. You'll learn something from each of our lessons on Dabiq, but we're on lesson number 4. Go back. We'll have a playlist with all of them. Play it from the beginning, and you'll see what's going on. They decided early on to do a little newsletter, they being the Islamic State media division, Al-Halat, and they had such success with their little newsletter that somebody said, dude, let's make a People magazine for the Islamic State. That's what you're looking at right now. They start out by laying out their mission statement and by saying that we have a caliph now. We have a leader that Allah has raised, and that he's there. He's in Quranic scripture, and we need to follow him. And other scholars came along and supported that. Then there was a declaration on page 7 that the Khalifa, the caliphate, has been declared. Then they talk about on page 8 and 9 that once it's declared, Muslims, O Muslim men, O Muslim women, a new era has arrived. It's now the era of might and dignity for Muslims, whereas it was weakness and humility and dishonor. Now, as a result of the new Khalifa, the caliphate, and the new Caliph, the Caliph Ibrahim, you will have might and power and dignity restored. But on page 10, but they said, we got to deal with a divided world. And here's where we left off yesterday, or in our last part 3. The world is divided essentially into the good guys and bad guys. You see, Islam does not get caught up in the convoluted Department of State nonsense coming out of the twin bimbos. What's their names again?
Jen Psaki, Marie Harf.
Yeah, Harf and Psaki. I mean, comic relief. These
more like a sack of barf.
Yeah, these ladies are great for comic relief.
They are.
They're
the sorority sisters, yeah.
They're so slick that they truly believe that they are duping everybody when they reel off. Well, I'm not at liberty right now to get into that, Mr. Blitzer, but I do appreciate the question and recognizing I will be with the Secretary Kerry in a little while, and we will discuss this. And, you know, all of that stuff, all their little minions, the Democrat leftist minions go, oh, she's so good. Folks like us go, come on, Jan, come on, Marie, what are you doing? I mean, it's so obvious, this nonsense. But the Muslims don't get convoluted like that. They go, good guys, bad guys, you're in one world or the other.
Dar al-Harb, Dar al-Islam.
We had a very simple president that saw the same thing a few years ago. What was his name?
Bush.
Yes. You're either with us or you're against us. It's pretty simple. But in its simplicity, that begs the question of whether or not you are in support of the West. And a good portion of this world is not in support of the West. So the Muslims are saying, right here, Islamic State, the world has been divided. Now listen carefully. O Ummah of Islam, indeed the world today has been divided into 2 camps, 2 trenches. No third camp present. Can you have the undecided middle from an Islamic State perspective?
No, sir.
And the West is so good at compromise and at middle ground. From an Islamic State perspective, listen carefully. O Ummah, O family of Islam, the world has been divided into two camps, two trenches. No third camp possible. No undivided middle, no soft center, no kumbaya group of interfaith nonsense. Muslims, non-Muslims. Pretty simple.
Yep, and this is what it is, and this is what they call them. And this is right out of, by the way, of Milestones. Dar al-Harb, which is the house of war, and Dar al-Islam, which is the house of peace. And when they do say that they are striving for peace, they are correct. The world is peace once the whole world is Islam. Until then, everything outside of Islam is in war. So that's a very good point. And all our listeners and viewers right now, 36 minutes after the hour, we want you to start thinking as an Islamic Mujahideen state jihadi. Okay? Mujahideen, holy warrior. Islamic State, that's what's been established in Syria and Iraq and now growing in Yemen and other places, North Africa. We want you in this study to put yourself in the mind of an Islamic warrior as we read this material. Envision, if you will. This is very good. If you've been an athlete, you know the visualization process. You work through the plays and what you're going to do. And it's very good in doing strategic thinking for national security concerns. Put yourself in a room with Caliph Ibrahim, Abu Basr al-Baghdadi, Caliph Ibrahim. He's the guy here in all black. He is in the lineage, the selected lineage, not blood lineage, selected lineage of Muhammad. He is now Muhammad's man on earth. You're in a meeting with him. You're at a big room with a bunch of Muslim leaders. You're sitting at the table. I'm sorry, you're sitting on the floor on your prayer mat. With your shoes off.
With your shoes off. It's a stinky...
with your AK-47 next to you.
You got your AK-47. It's stinky and nasty because these guys don't take baths. They don't use cologne, none of that stuff. They're tough mujahideen. But you're in that room. And now this particular person on page 10, Amir Mumin said, Amir Mumin, he is one of the Islamic leaders. He's around that council. You're sitting there. He says, O Muslim, O Ummah of Islam, indeed the world's been divided into two camps, two trenches, no third. You're going, oh, I gotta be on one side or the other. The camp of Islam and faith, that's one division.
Dar al-Islam.
And the camp of kufr, K-U-F-R, kufr.
Unbeliever. Right.
Disbelief and hypocrisy. Not just disbelief, I don't believe, but hypocrisy. Oh, you Muslims are wrong. That's the hypocrisy. Or hypocrisy that they're talking about here is, oh, I'm a Muslim, I'm in your camp, but you don't live and act as if you're in the camp. So you're sitting around that council now, you're listening. The camp of the Muslims and the camp of the Mujahideen everywhere. And the other camp is the camp of the Jews.
Christians.
And the Crusaders. And the Crusaders.
Zoroastrians.
They're allies. And with them, the rest of the nations, the religions of Kufr, all being led by the Americans. And guess who else they stick in there?
The Jews?
Russia.
Oh.
Being mobilized by the Jews.
Oh, okay.
So in the Islamic State, the Jews are running Russia.
Communism, that banned religion.
Yep. The Jews are running Russia, and these are the two worlds. The Jews make it twice in the delineation of the two worlds. They make it in the beginning part of disbelief, and then they're running the world, they run Russia.
Everyone knows that Jews run the
would be a little
world.
surprised at that. But these guys have a long view. They see the Russian Jews who were communists and now are in different control in their mind around the world, so the Russian Jews are still running Russia somehow.
Tell that to Putin.
This stuff doesn't have to make sense.
It's just
they believe it.
They're twisted head.
Yep. But I tell you what, jumping to eschatology, Christian eschatology has Gog of the north and Magog coming down against the Jews, and a lot of Christian interpreter scholars have interpreted that very clearly as Russia being involved at some point attacking Israel with other people. And these things 10 years ago were like, oh, come on. I'm a Christian and I believe in eschatology, but you just didn't see this aligning itself. Now, a couple little tweaks here and there, and you got it in line. It's crazy. And Putin right now, today, Putin's a mess. He just, about a week ago, based upon the viewing of this, he disappeared for 10 days.
Yeah. They thought he was real sick.
Yeah, where was he? Could have had a behind-the-scenes coup. Could have been a lot of things going on. But the problem is he came out of there and he started exercising his military might with military exercises.
Threatening that he was going to make ready the nuclear force over what's going on in the Ukraine. He's a nut job.
He is a nut job.
He had Nemtsov killed a couple weeks ago in all likelihood.
Yeah.
He's pointing the finger elsewhere, of course, but.
And also, Putin does loathe Muslims. I mean, he really does.
He does not like Muslims. So
that's the reason he made the list in there, because they know how much. I mean, he's come down from Russia and just crushed, many.
Now, what could happen, and we're speculating here, we're not reading anything here. What could happen is Putin gets pushed aside like Khrushchev did, and Gorbachev, all these guys, they get pushed out by their own friends. And somebody can come in that is a little more amenable to working with Muslims. Now, we would go, how crazy is that? This guy's working with Iran, the leader of the free world. These things aren't that crazy.
He's been Assad's buddy for years and years.
So somebody could come in that says, look, the Jews are really the problem in the world. Let's deal with that first. We'll help you. What are you missing? We can't make any nuclear stuff. We got stuff laying in my basement. I got bombs laying in my basement. I'll give you a couple. Just don't tell them it came from here. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, crazy stuff. 42 minutes after.
I mean, listen, the Pakis could give. You had a guy in the Temple Mount calling out Pakistan, ripping the Pakistan leaders for not using their nukes on Israel.
And this Temple Mount you're talking about?
Yes.
Where we're going to go visit in a few days? Okay, that Temple Mount. All right, it's 42 minutes after. Tom Trento, your host, WSBR Radio, Boca Raton, Florida, and we're also on WHFS 1010 Tampa Bay. Good stuff, folks. We are looking at the 4th edition. Look at the playlist. You can watch all of these of Dabiq. We've simply
First
said
edition, 4th episode.
Yeah. We'll call it that way. First edition of the book, 4th episode of that. And as we said, this is going to be a 700-part
And we're taking an in-depth look at this from the perspective of Moon Zoos.
From Moon Zoo. There it is, Moon Zoo's the fart of war. This guy, a lot of people think he stinks in his military
it's his twin brother,
strategy. But we don't think he stinks at all. We think he's nailed
It's his twin cousin.
His twin cousin. And more people need to sniff out Moon Zoo. But this book, now you're in a meeting with the Caliph Ibrahim, and they're laying out how the Islamic State is going to progress. The world's divided into two. And the leader speaking there goes on to say, therefore, rush, O Muslim, to your state. Yes, it is your state. Rush, because Syria is not for the Syrians, and Iraq is not for the Iraqis. We've got to stop there. This is exegetical study. What is one of Caliph Ibrahim's henchmen, scholars, saying to the Ummah worldwide, rush, O Muslim, to your state? It is not Iraq state. It's not Syria state. What does that mean?
It's the grand state. It's the Ummah. It's the Caliph. It's the Caliphate. It's what you're called to do. You're called to rush to support the Islamic State, which is, where they.
If we could show a map right there, there's the map.
Yep.
No borders. That simply means, how could a Muslim have borders? A Muslim has been given control, supremacy of the world by Allah. Watch the next verse. The earth is Allah's. Now, reading out of the Hadith. Indeed, the earth belongs to Allah. He causes to inherit it whom He wills of His servants. And the best outcome is for the righteous. You will see the theme in Dabiq, that those who leave their homeland, and there are maps now showing Muslims doing the hijrah, leaving their homeland and going to Syria. Right there, we have one up. This is called a hijrah. This is a holy call on Muslims worldwide to leave. And these are the righteous men and women, so says the doctrine of Islam. This state is a state for all Muslims. And the state is a borderless state, the world. But it starts someplace. It's got to logically, demographically, and geographically start someplace. You got to be starting someplace, starting in Syria, which also is eschatological. The state is a state for all Muslims. The land is for the Muslims, all the Muslims, oh Muslims everywhere. Whoever is capable of performing hijrah, Hijrah, emigration, to emigrate out. Emigration means you're coming into a state. Emigrating with an E means you go out. Hijrah means to leave someplace, to exit with the E, go into Syria of the Islamic State. Let him do so, because hijrah to the land of Islam is suggested. No, doesn't say that. Hijrah to the land of Islam is obligatory.
You must go.
Oh, Muslim, you want to go to paradise, you got to come to Syria. How many Muslims in the world, Imam Abdullah?
1.8 billion.
Yeah, how come it grows by 200,000 every time I talk to you?
Because Netanyahu win the election. We need more.
Okay. All right, give me your low ball. Let's just say
1.5.
Okay. All right, 1.5. Let's say
10%.
1%. Let's go with 1% of 1.5 billion. And we know it's 40 or 50%, but let's go with 1%. Read this and agree intellectually that it's an obligation of a Muslim to emigrate out of their land, to do the hijrah, and to go to Syria to either fight or to assist the fighters. 1% of 1.5 billion.
15 million. 15 million.
15 million.
Yeah.
And how many people were involved in the devastating act on September 11, 2001, blowing up the Trade
19.
Center?
Well, 19 active.
19
and
million?
then, no. 19 hijackers. And then all
19 million.
No, 19.
19,
19.
You know, like 2 years short of being able to drink.
Now, do you think of the 1% of 1.5 billion, 15 million, do you think any of them would line up to fly an airplane into a U.S. building?
Yes, Tom.
Do you think any of them, if they had their hands on a thermonuclear bomb, would wrap it around their head and dive into a swimming pool full of Jews?
Absolutely, Tom.
Yeah. Okay. Just checking.
Let me ask you something.
Dive into a swimming pool full of Jews?
I don't know where you got that, but I do have a question.
Where did that come from?
Do you think
Wait,
rapping...
can you see the guy doing that?
Yeah, do you think...
Wait. He's on his way to go blow up a military base, and he goes, he hears a bunch of singing and laughing, and he sees Jewish summer resort, and he goes, oh, I can't go over there. I've got to go here. They're probably in bikinis and bathing suits. I'm going to strap this thing to my head, run in there, and dive in the swimming pool. Do you think any of them would ever make that decision?
It'd be tough. It'd be tough. Do you think wrapping your junk in tinfoil helps if you've got a nuke strapped to you?
I think there may be a market for the new and improved version of Reynolds wrap that we could sell to Muslims, maybe, who... what are we talking about? Well, 2 years ago, the United West went on a national security mission to Israel. We were studying suicide bombers in Israel, and we went, sadly, to about 10 different locations of successful suicide bombing attacks in Israel. And we were briefed by the IDF, by the border police, by the anti-bomb experts. And one of the very bizarre elements that came out of this 2-week study was that many of the Islamic jihadi men who do their farewell speech and do all the stuff, when they actually strap on the bomb, they wrap their testicles and their penis in tinfoil.
And toilet paper, sometimes.
Yeah, in aluminum foil to protect their private parts from the blast so that they have their private parts. We saw pictures of this, and we sat down with the investigators that have investigated. We saw the forensic evidence. So This is
What's the
Islamic
purpose of
thinking.
that? What's the purpose of
They
it?
blow themselves up in a holy war which has been declared against the Jews. They are immediately translated to paradise, and they begin the process of sexual relations with virgin women. And you kind of need your junk if you're going to get involved in that stuff in paradise. So they were adding a little extra protection.
Now,
That's what
they
we're talking
know
about
this
right
because they caught the guys. The bombs did not go off, but they still caught them, and the guys did try to trigger the bomb, so they knew they were serious. And they asked them, why did... And they're doing the strip searches of them for everything else, and they see all this down there, and they're going, yo, what's up with this?
There,
What's going on there? Well, I need to get my virgins, you know.
Now you could laugh about this as we do, because sometimes serious national security facts have very bizarre
Aspects.
to stupid people from the West, you know. But this is part of the doctrine that people believe at 51 minutes after. Now watch this call.
Well, hold on, one quick.
The big idea. We'll get it.
You're talking about numbers. Let's get some real numbers here. And this is the 25,358 Muslim attacks that happened since 9/11. Do you think of it, like going back to your analogy, just get some real numbers of this? How about just those 25,000 people? Do you think they would light off that nuclear bomb?
25,000 since 9/11?
Well, that says attacks. There's more than one attacker in each, on average. You know, some of those might be individuals, but a lot of those are group attacks. So
anyway. So.
Yeah, that's that obviously thousands per year, but yeah, you know, however you massage the numbers, because there's so many Muslims out there, then the percentage of those who want to go jihad kinetically and kill and destroy and maim is a huge number. It's a very huge number, and what we're looking at is the Islamic State's call to those individuals, because you do not need a lot of people to wreak destruction and strike terror in the hearts of the kuffar, the unbelievers. But watch what else that happens. And our big idea for today, and all we want to do is leave at least one big idea, but we know you get many ideas from our edutainment here.
yeah, like new uses for tinfoil.
Yeah, the big idea we want to leave is that the Islamic State is making a call to Muslim men and women worldwide, and they are heeding the call. And the Western authorities that are identifying these people are probably catching, what, 1 in 2? How many? 1 in 500? Yeah, I mean, thousands are making it through to every one that's being caught.
Right.
Believe us,
How many
folks.
have made it through the Mexican border into this country?
Yep. And if you're a smart, you were in that room now with Caliph Ibrahim and others, if these guys are smart, they're saying, look, don't put everybody on the front lines immediately. Get these Westerners, particularly those who can speak perfect English. Get the ones who don't look like Muslims, and a lot of Mexicans who've converted to Islam are being used this way because they speak Spanish. Get the guys that can become Grover Norquist type agents.
You lost your audio, Tom.
Okay.
Yeah, get the Grover Norquist. And what you need to do is, you're exactly right, is the whole concept of what the purpose is to get agents of influence inside the different organizations to promote the jihad, the Dollar Harb, the Dollar Islam concept that we've been talking about today. And there we go.
Yeah, and the Grover Norquist agent of influence, if the Islamic State is smart, they will have non-kinetic, and Grover, for the most part, has been on the non-kinetic side of Islamic influence. He's manipulating behind the scenes, trying to create a world that is more friendly to the Muslim Brotherhood. So they'll train people up to be sophisticated agents like that, but they'll also train sleeper cells and then just insert them worldwide in capital cities and in kind of obscure areas. Because when you hit an obscure area, you can project the reach of your power that frightens middle America. This is what we're looking at in the future. How do we know this, folks? Because we read the stuff they tell us. Now look what else they did on page 10 and 11. Not only are they calling the jihadis to come and bring, Reynolds wrap aluminum foil for their private parts who are going to blow themselves up, but they also realize they got to build a friggin' state. If they're an Islamic State, they got to do the work of a state. So listen to this call. A hijra, to all Muslim doctors and engineers and scholars and specialists. We make a special call to the scholars, experts in Islamic jurisprudence. They want Islamic leaders to start teaching this Islamic State doctrine, to start convincing people worldwide that this is indeed Allah's Islamic State. We want especially judges, as well as people with military administrative capabilities, service expertise, medical doctors, engineers of all various specialized fields. We call them and remind them. So that's the call. Now, what is the theological leverage used to get an engineer who's in Pakistan, got a pretty decent life, he's totally jihad worthy, he's supporting it, but he's wondering, he's got a little family, he doesn't know what to do, he likes what he sees, he hates the Jews, he hates Americans. Here's the leverage they use theologically to get that engineer in Pakistan to come over to Syria. We call you and remind you to fear Allah. They put it right in a theological, contextual element. Fear Allah, for their immigration, your immigration, is wahib anin, is an individual obligation. Don't sit there, Pakistani engineer, and say, well, others can do this. You have an obligation to do it. That's what they're saying in the Islamic State. So that they can answer the dire need of the Muslims for them. People are ignorant for your religion, and they thirst for those who can teach them and help them. You are an engineer in Pakistan. You need to come here and teach these Muslims how to build so we can build a state right here. Pack and get here to Syria.
Takbir!
Yeah. That's pretty,
Tom, are you considering converting? You're very convincing.
Reverting.
Yes, reverting.
Back.
Would you consider reverting?
Pay better than the United West directorship?
Yeah.
Yes. I think we have a position for you.
Okay. Do I get free?
Yeah, you need
free tinfoil, or what's the deal with the tinfoil?
Oh, yes.
I don't want to get into any of that stuff.
Tom, you're a very smart man. We would not send you in with a bomb strap.
Maybe I'll be a double agent.
Yeah.
And go in and say and come back and do all that stuff. And not
What you need to do, you need to go insert yourself into ISIS as an agent, come back, work with Grover Norquist as an agent, back to the Muslim Brotherhood, then go back to, to the Hillary State Department, hook up with her, and then come back and go work with Frank. Yeah.
No, by then it would not be the Hillary State. First of all, it's not the Hillary State Department. It would be the Clinton administration.
Clinton administration.
We got about 1,000 hours of video on the internet. And could we take that off and make believe it never happened? All that stuff?
No, that's part of your cover.
Oh, that's part of the cover. Okay.
That's right. It's part of your cover.
Secret agent man.
Secret agent.
Let me try.
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum, my brother. Assa brother malaikum. No, I think I'll stay persuaded to being a follower of Jesus Christ. I think I'll stay persuaded that way.
You're no
fun.
fun.
But Tom, Jesus is coming back with Muhammad to kill the Jews. Don't you want to kill the Jews? Nah, I kind of like Jewish people. You know? So, anyway.
Well, since we have a couple minutes left in the show.
1 minute.
No, we have 2 minutes left in the show, if you think about it. And
if you think about it. I'm looking at numbers. I don't know how to think beyond the reality of numbers. But
yeah, take us out. Yeah, because we had little problems earlier.
Oh, we're going to cut the little problem out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's part of the show. Part of the vert.
No.
But what were you going to say anyway?
No, I was just saying the big picture to me, I think everybody should realize, and this is the big concept, and if you could pull up the dollar harb, dollar Islam, that is right out of, Milestones, Sayyid Qutb. This is not something that is new. This is not something that is quit it. This is something that is tradition. This is something that's out of the Quran. This is what Sayyid Qutb taught about in his book Milestones, what the Muslim Brotherhood believes in, the Dar al-Harb, the house of war. Dar al-Islam, the house of peace, meaning when the world is entirely Islamic. You take that big concept away, you'll understand Islam.
You will. You'll understand the rationale and the experiential consequences of this Islamic State and this worldwide unrest and people yelling on airplanes now, jihad, all the stuff that's going on. You'll see from a Muslim point of view, the world is divided into two, like you just saw. And just as the Islamic State is making a call for emigration, for Muslims to come out and go to Syria and fight, we're making a call here at the United West for participation. If you're an American here and you're starting to understand and learn this stuff, do you not have an obligation? I won't even go into the religious part for Christians and Jews, but as an American, as a patriot, as someone who enjoys the benefits and pleasures and wonder of being an American, don't you have some obligation to participate against Islamic jihad in the United States?
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean you hate Muslims or anything like that. It means you understand the doctrine and you're not going to allow it to be insinuated into the United States in any way that's detrimental to anybody. That's simple. If you want to be a Muslim and live here, you got to follow the United States Constitution, take your Islamic stuff and leave it somewhere else. And that can be done with decor and with professionalism and with sensitivity to people. Stay tuned. We got a lot of good stuff for you.